and welcome to
Jazzology, presented by Savage Content.
I'm your host, Willard Jenkins, giving two jazz fans the opportunity to
compete against each other for a chance to win $100. Brian.
Good morning.
The jazz performance venue, known as the Outpost Performance Space, is located in which of the following cities?
Ooh.
Would that be A, Seattle, B, Kansas City, C, San Diego, D, Albuquerque, or E, San Jose?
Wow. Okay. I have to say right off the bat, I do not know the answer to this, so I'm going to guess. And by the name of it, I'm thinking that I know Seattle a little bit. I don't know Kansas City as well as I should in terms of the club scene or the festival scene. And I don't know San Diego. San Jose, I do know, and I don't think that's in San Jose. So I'm going to go with D, Albuquerque, thinking that it would be an outdoor space in a beautiful kind of outdoor setting. D. Oh.
That is correct.
Wow.
Outpost,
that was all luck there.
The Outpost Performance Space is based in Albuquerque, New Mexico. It was founded by a musician named Tom Goralnik, and it's a wonderful space, wonderful community resource, and it is also the co-presenter of the annual New Mexico Jazz Festival.
Ethan, name the Washington, D.C. club where Miles Davis recorded an album in the 1970s. Was that A, Blues Alley, B, Mr. Henry's, C, One Step Down, D, the Bohemian Caverns, or E, the Cellar Door?
I see we're on your turf, Willard, with some Washington, D.C. questions here.
Yes, we are.
You know, and I just wanted to say before we get further into the weeds here, I actually have no expectation of unseating the legendary Matt Merowitz here in this trivia, but I figured who better than me to at least give it a shot? You know what I mean? So I have that much ego involved anyway, although I expect it. However, this is not a hard question, in my opinion. We missed these legendary clubs. I think only Blues Alley is left, but Live Evil and a couple of those other things were recorded at the Cellar Door, E.
That is correct. Recorded at the Cellar Door. In fact, he recorded that band that he had with Keith Jarrett at the Cellar Door. Matt, the guitar great Wes Montgomery was discovered working in a club called the Missile Room in what city? Would that have been A, Columbus, Ohio, B, Chicago, C, St. Louis, D, Indianapolis, or E, Gary, Indiana?
So this seems too simple to be true, but I think the most obvious choice is the best one in this case, because I don't think he had ever left town before he was discovered. I believe he was discovered by Cannonball Adderley and brought to the attention of Warren Keep News at Riverside, who gave him his first record deal. So I'm going to say that that's Indianapolis. It could be a trick question, but I think it's Indianapolis.
Indeed, it was Indianapolis. And that reminds all of us, I should say, of the fact that Indianapolis is a town which has not received its just due in terms of the jazz history map. Indianapolis produced a lot of wonderful musicians, and Wes Montgomery was the head of the class, I guess you could say. And you're right about the evolution of the so-called discovery of Wes Montgomery, because it was Cannonball Adderley that heard him and turned Orrin Keepnews on to him, and Orrin Keepnews subsequently went to the missile room in Indianapolis to discover Wes Montgomery.
Jim, the now defunct New York City Jazz Club, known by their logo as being located, and I quote, in the Far East, was which of the following? Was that A, Slugs, B, the 5 spot, C, the half note, D, Studio Rivby, or E, the Ladies Fort?
Well, I know the answer to this, but I'll go through each one of them. 5 spot, it was pretty far east, but not far enough. The half note was on the west side. Ditto Studio Rivby and the Ladies Fort. I don't know where that was. So it must be Slugs.
That is the correct answer.
I love Slugs. I love Slugs.
The now defunct club known as Slugs was known as being, by their logo, was known as being in the Far East. Because I guess at that point it was the furthest east of all jazz clubs in Manhattan.
Yep.
Ted, the jazz club, known as the Dakota, is located where? Is that A, Milwaukee, B, Chicago, C, Detroit, D, Minneapolis, or E, Cleveland? Where is the Dakota located?
Well, I guess we know it's in the Midwest, broadly defined. Now, I have never been to the Dakota. Heard a lot about it. What thought process can I really talk about? It's D, Minneapolis.
That is correct. Crawford Grill was a legendary jazz club located in what city? Was that A, Indianapolis, B, Minneapolis, C, Denver, D, Pittsburgh, or E, Cleveland?
Crawford Grill.
Yep.
Whew.
Legendary jazz club.
Yeah. This is a tough question. All these questions are tough. But in my mind, I'm just going to look at the cities and kind of think about, their landscape and the type of clubs that may have been there or may be there. Right now, I'm going to say, I think Cleveland. I want to feel like Cleveland might be a good spot.
That is incorrect. It was not Cleveland. So Matt, with another opportunity to steal the question. Matt, Crawford Grill was a legendary jazz club located in what city? Would that have been A, Indianapolis, B, Minneapolis, C, Denver, or D, Pittsburgh, and E, Cleveland has been eliminated?
So I happened to go to college in Pittsburgh, and
that's why you had the big smile on your face as the question was made.
I was like, why does he get this one? But, I was lucky to actually perform on the stage of the original Crawford Grill at a jam session led by Kenny Blake, the great tenor and flute player who used to lead the band Cabo Frio and is a graduate of Columbia University. And I met the writer Mike Shanley there that night. He was hanging out with his own saxophone. And it was a very memorable night. Since then, the building has been condemned, and briefly the club moved to kind of a gentrified area of South Side Pittsburgh called Crawford Grill on the Square, but I think that has also since closed. And the building has a historical landmarker in front of it, so it's
Yes.
it's in the Hill District in Pittsburgh. It's one of the most iconic jazz clubs of yesteryear. But most people, if you haven't been to Pittsburgh and you haven't studied the records that came out of Pittsburgh or the history of that city, most people wouldn't know that. So, but I happen to know it's D Pittsburgh.
Wow, that's great.
It is indeed, and you brought up an excellent point, because Pittsburgh has done a wonderful job of celebrating its jazz history with those markers. Because not only do you see those markers in front of places like the former site of Crawford Grill, but also in front of the house that Art Blakey grew up in front of the house where Ahmad Jamal grew up, and all over the city there is wonderful markers, jazz history markers that Pittsburgh has erected. So kudos to Pittsburgh for remembering its jazz history. Name the Washington, D.C. club where pianist, singer Roberta Flack appeared regularly as a young artist, and where she was first heard by Les McCann, who was the musician credited with introducing her to Atlantic Records. Was it A, One Step Down, B, Mr. Henry's, C, Take Home a Station, D, Blues Alley, or E, the Crystal Caverns?
Nice question. Well, I was totally confident with the previous Washington D.C. club question. This I don't have the breath. I don't think it was Blues Alley though. One Step Down. I also think of that as a little bit more of a 70s club or something. So this would have been late 60s, right? I'm gonna go with E, the Crystal Caverns. I feel like I have a distant memory of Crystal Caverns.
That is incorrect. And it was the Crystal Caverns that became the Bohemian Caverns.
Ah, okay.
Yes. Well, Matt, a chance to steal the point. Name the Washington, D.C. club where pianist, singer Roberta Flack appeared regularly as a young artist, and where she was first heard by Les McCann, who introduced her to Atlantic Records. Was that A, One Step Down, B, Mr. Henry's, C, Take Home a Station, D, Blues Alley, and E, the Crystal Caverns has been eliminated?
So I think this question really boils down to what club could have been around at that time. And if I'm not mistaken, One Step Down was around mostly in the 80s and 90s. Tacoma Station was probably founded in the 80s or late 70s. Blues Alley, might have been around, but it's not that. And Crystal's been eliminated. So I think the only club that makes sense, given that Crystal Caverns is eliminated, could be Mr. Henry's, because that is a club that was like basically a 1960s DC club, or at least 1970s. So I'm going to go with B, Mr. Henry's.
That is, and Mr. Henry's is still in business and still presenting music. In fact, we've got a Billy Strayhorn tribute program playing there next week as part of the DC Jazz Fest.
Oh, fantastic!
Wow.
Yes. What jazz club was nicknamed the Metropolitan Opera House by jazz radio DJ Symphony Sid? Was that A, the Royal Roost, B, the Onyx Club, C, Birdland, D, Minton's Playhouse, or E, the Three Deuces?
Well, boy, I'm going to eliminate it immediately down to the Royal Roost and Birdland. because those are the two clubs that I know that Symphony Sid regularly broadcast from. And both of them were great bebop venues, which makes it tough. The big difference between them was that the Royal Roost ultimately failed, and Birdland, I guess you would say it failed, but there's still a Birdland in New York to this day. So I think, the other difference is that Birdland was the more famous club. So I think I'm going to go with C, Birdland.
That is incorrect. And that means that Matt Merowitz is our continuing champion, because the correct answer to that question, as in what jazz club was nicknamed the Metropolitan Opera House by Symphony Sid, the correct answer was A, the Royal Roost. Ted, name the now defunct jazz club that fostered a big band in Cincinnati, Ohio. Would that have been A, the Dirty Dog Cafe, B, the Griot Music Lounge, C, the Blue Wisp Club, D, the Smiling Dog Saloon, or E, none of the above?
Willard, you are really coming up with them today. I have absolutely no idea. However, I'm going to, again, follow Matt Merowitz's and try to do as well as he does by process of elimination. All right. And the only name of the four that is familiar to me, for some reason I've heard about the Smiling Dog Saloon. Now, you didn't ask which big band, and I know you're not going to tell me which big band.
No, I'm going to tell you which big band at the end.
Yeah, well, yes, but what good does that do me at the end? And as also Matt might go, since the previous question was a none of the above, perhaps you're not going to repeat that. So for those two reasons, I'm giving my thought process, which is this. I'll go for the Smiling Dog Saloon.
That is incorrect. So Enzo with an opportunity to steal the point. Enzo, name the now defunct jazz club that fostered a big band in Cincinnati, Ohio. Was it A, the Dirty Dog Cafe, the Griot Music Lounge, C, the Blue Wisp Club, and D, the Smiling Dog Saloon has been eliminated, or E, none of the above?
That is a tough question, really. Really tough one. I would say, because maybe I'm familiar with the name, a Dirty Dog Cafe.
That too is incorrect. The correct answer to that question is C, the Blue Wisp Jazz Club. The Blue Wisp Club had a big band, the Blue Wisp Big Band, which recorded. So when we're finished, go back to your discography or do a Google search and you'll see the Blue Wisp Big Band. It was quite a fine big band too.
Willard, did you saw this band?
I have the record. Okay. I have one of the records they made from my days at Arts Midwest. And by the way, the Smiling Dog Saloon was in Cleveland.
That's what I thought. That's what was confusing to me. But
all right. Well,
I've never been to Cincinnati in my life. That's I don't know. I only know that my friend Ashley Kahn is from Cincinnati.
Yes,
that's the only thing I know.
All right.
Well, Fred Hirsch is from Cincinnati.
Yeah, he is. Matt, when Louis Armstrong left New Orleans in 1922 to rejoin the King Oliver Band in Chicago, what was the nightclub where the King Oliver Band was in residence? Was it A, Grand Terrace, B, the Regal, C, Lincoln Gardens, D, Rum Boogie Cafe, or E, the Fine and Mellow?
So I would imagine if Louis left New Orleans to join King Oliver's band, it would probably have been in a pretty prestigious club in Chicago. So, and I don't know any of these clubs, and I don't have the greatest knowledge of 1920s jazz. So I'm going to eliminate Rum Boogie Cafe because it feels like he probably wouldn't have left New Orleans to go to play in a cafe. We're playing in a cafe anyways. I also don't imagine at that time in the 1920s there was probably a club named the Fine and Mellow. So that leaves us with the Grand Terrace, the Regal, and Lincoln Gardens. And so again, I'm drawn to the middle of Lincoln Gardens. C would be my answer. This is a wild guess.
And in one fell swoop, Matt Fligger, you have caught up. It was indeed the Lincoln Gardens where King Oliver was.
Sure, I had it in the bag.
When Pops came into Chicago.
We encourage each and every one of you to try your hand and play Jazzology. And if anyone watching would like to become a contestant on Jazzology, click the link below and simply fill out the form. You must be 18 years old or older, and be sure to follow us on social media
at Jazzology Trivia Show
to get all the latest news and updates.
And if you missed the show live, you can find the archive on the Savage Content YouTube channel. Until next time, peace.
Thanks, Willard. Thanks, Matt. See ya.
Good game, Morgan.
You too.